So Jalen Carter had his pro day at Georgia yesterday, and reportedly came in 9 pounds heavier than he was at the combine.
Dang.
And he couldn't finish his workouts because of cardio issues and cramping.
He looked a little out of shape.
So, well, I mean, how long ago was the combine? Wasn't that long ago, right?
A week ago?
A couple weeks.
Okay.
That Southern food will get you, though, man.
I get it, but, it feels like it's kind of an important time to go ahead and put the fork down and get ready to rock.
It's a good time to put the fork down?
Especially when, you have all these other things that are happening off the field. Unless this was all strategic because he wants to drop down to number 9 so the Bears pick him. Unless that's what this is. This just feels like it's heading in a bad direction. So my question is, how far does he actually drop? Is this concerning enough to where you're like, he's off my board in the first 10, 15 picks? Is that where this is headed to when it comes to Jalen Carter?
I think they have a follow-up workout. Team will come individually and work him out, and they'll be able to judge for themselves. That's my feeling on it. He's a tremendous talent. The tape's great. The pro day wasn't good. Okay. We've seen some bad pro days before. Guys still get drafted. Guys still show out in the NFL. So I don't want to read too much into it. I mean, this should be a time of year where you're in top shape. You're doing all the right things while you're being evaluated until April. But, I mean, teams will continue to dig in on this. But it does only light, I guess, more of a fire to the thought during the season. And I forget who said it. I don't know if it was
I think it was McShay.
McShay, was Todd McShay, who said he's got some, off-the-field issues. And you were like, all right, what does that really mean? Well, at the time at which he said it, the whole car incident that we heard about, that happened after the national championship game. So that wasn't a part of it. So it leads you to think there's maybe even more out there. And, not showing up for a pro day in shape and overweight. I mean, 9 pounds isn't big on a big guy. I mean, LaVar, you played linebacker. I'm sure you saw D linemen who fluctuated in their weight a decent amount.
Yeah, I mean, if you can carry it, you can carry it. If you can't, you can. I mean, it sounded like he couldn't. I mean, listen, I said the market spoke on him when Chicago traded out of the pick. So whatever it is people experienced being around him or what they saw or what they uncovered or knew informationally speaking, he was not going to be the number 1 overall draft pick. Like that ship sailed on him. And I don't know where he goes. I know we mentioned Arizona as a possible landing space. I'm just not sure. And maybe the extent of it is now beginning to come out, and maybe it's starting to show, which on his behalf or whoever is advising him or who's around him, and most importantly himself, should be holding himself to an expectation and a standard of where he's overly prepared, not underprepared, not underwhelming, overprepared, overwhelming with everything that he does. You have the opportunity of a lifetime, and all you're right here at it, and all you have to do is be prepared and stay out of any type of situations that would lend to you not being considered a top guy. Like that to me, you've done the hardest work to get to this point. And why would you allow yourself to not be in shape? And I mean, this is 2023. Like workout guy, like this is such a different era. People work out. That's like what athletes do these days. And I know that sounds weird to say, but like when I was coming up, we worked out. The specialized working out, the amount of working out that this generation of athletes they do is essing on what we did when I was younger. It's not even close, the amount of work that these guys are putting in the off season. It's like everybody's got a personal trainer these days. You go to the school and you work out with your school trainers, but then you're leaving school and you're going and you're working with specialists on, plyometrics and bio whatever mechanics and this, that, and the other and stretching this and how your foot touches the surface of the ground and all these different things.
My nephew plays junior college football, and my brother was telling me about all the different things he goes to throughout the week. He's got like 3 sessions a day.
It's I don't want to say it's ridiculous. It's just where it is and how important it is for these guys and these young aspiring athletes to be as prepared as possible. And so for him to come in, out of shape, overweight, is it a terrible thing? It's I would say it's not the worst thing ever. Guys have shown up out of shape before, but is it a missed opportunity where you're in a quarterback heavy top 10, top of the draft, draft class? It's a missed opportunity. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I don't think he's going number one regardless with the quarterback needs.
Nope.
There's just too many teams that need quarterbacks.
He's definitely
But even if he was like the best, you don't see those guys leapfrog a quarterback, especially if a team really needs him. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if Arizona takes him. For a team that hasn't done a ton in free agency so far. They let Zach Allen go to Denver. That was tough. Byron Murphy, they lost out. He moved on. They've got some holes now, and that's a team that could really use his talent and skill set. So if they stay put, I could still see them taking him at 3.
God, so he's going to drop. Do you think he drops out of the top 10? Because you've got obviously Seattle. Yeah, well, I'm just saying. Do you think there's a possibility he drops out of the top 10?
No, because the drop off on tape from watching him compared to the other D tackles is significant. Like every other D tackle, like Cansey, the kid out of Pittsburgh, he's awesome, fun to watch, really undersized.
Yeah.
For some of the splash plays you see, there's times you see him get mauled. He's only 280 pounds. Brazee, solid player, not to the ability of Jalen Carter. Like completely different category or different tier, if you will.
The only thing I would say to that is they might not take a defender. They might take an offensive lineman. They might go O-line instead of D-line. And that would be the possibility of where he could end up dropping out of one of those top picks.
How is the O-line in this draft? Because you've got the kid out of Northwestern. Is it Skoronski?
Skoronski,
and then Paris Johnson is the guy out of Ohio State.
DeJuan Jones, the other one, yeah.
Okay, so how are they? Are those top-tier linemen, or just in this class, those are the top of the top?
In this class, I mean, Skoronski's pretty good. The problem is, you're playing at Northwestern. They've actually been throwing the football more than they have of late, so take that for what it's worth. I don't know that you're walking away saying, hey, they've got a bunch of first ballot Hall of Famers in this class. That's not necessarily the conversation around the tackle class. It's good. There's some depth in some spots, but this isn't one of those classes that has that like surefire guy that you could take number one overall, like we saw with Jake Long, like we saw with some others. But again, going back to those draft classes way back when, different time. It was 2008. And, an era where, again, if there's a quarterback need at the top of the draft, teams are moving up or teams are drafting them, whether they're fully sold on that guy or not.
See, Pat Fitzgerald was campaigning for the Bears to take Skoronski at number 9 at the pro day there. So he'd like to see him.
Oh, is that surprising?
No.
Do you want to explain to the masses who Pat Fitzgerald is?
Well, he's a Northwestern head coach. And again, St. Patty's week, another guy who's out there, shopping around, trying to let everybody know he's got a guy. I believe Fitzgerald is Irish. Is that correct? Probably
yes.
Not. Who cares? But point being, there's some speculation about where that heads, and then the odds would say if you go to DraftKings, you've got Will Anderson, who's the favorite to go be the first defensive player selected, and then you've got Jalen Carter too. So that's where that is shifted.